I solemnly swear that I am up to no good.
Hey everybody, welcome to a very special edition of Tales from Godric's Hollow. This is a Sunday episode, Sunday, April 9th, 2017. This is not your normal episode. This is it's an AMA, soon-to-be Butterbeer Banter episode. The fine folks that are supporting us over at Patreon demanded that we do something like this. We are obliging them as much as we possibly can. This is going to be, like I said, an AMA episode. This is going to be us answering questions about us from you guys. The wonderful people over at Patreon are welcome to watch this live, which is frightening. Anybody else hearing this is in the past already. This has already happened, so you can't join in on the conversation as we speak. I am one of your hosts. I am the Muggle of the show, Josh Brown. I am joined, as always, by the professor who's looking mighty tan this week, Matt. Did you go on vacation or something? You are looking fine. Matt Sonnenberg.
I wouldn't say I'm tan, but yeah, I definitely did go on vacation.
You got more sun in the last week than you probably have had in the last... when did you last go on vacation? A year ago?
It's been
Not much
a while.
in Wisconsin, yeah.
I mean, we were in Southern California probably... I don't know,
June,
maybe
right?
6 months ago.
Was it 6 months?
Something like that.
Regardless, Matt, you're back. Much needed vacation, and you came back just to do this episode, so everybody should be super excited about that, I'm sure. Joining us tonight to help us moderate this train wreck that we're about to go on, we invited somebody that you guys should know from the podcast. He's been with us a couple different times. He has joined us for a few different movie episodes. He is Colin Wheeler. Hi, Colin.
Good evening. How are you guys?
We are doing fantastic. I'm speaking for Matt here because I know what he's thinking.
Oh, yeah. First of all, I wanted to wish Matt happy birthday. Happy birthday, Matt. And I just want to thank you guys for inviting me in this magical episode that we're doing here.
It's going to be fun. We figured if we're just asking ourselves the questions, it would be kind of weird and awkward for everybody involved. So we need somebody to kind of moderate, to ask us the questions, to press us on the answers if we're not giving good enough answers or flushed out answers, that you think the people would want to hear. So we're going to kind of just turn it over to you here and let you have at it. You're going to be asking the questions that were sent to us via email. That's talesfromgodricshollow@gmail.com, and kind of just going to let you do your thing and how you want to control this ship here. So, Colin, take it away.
Well, I'm happy to make it more awkward for you guys. I'm really glad you invited me to do that. Let's start with the first question. Let's just get right to it. This is from Jess. We have spent a lot of time talking about the different pets in the Harry Potter. Crookshanks, Hedwig, Pig, Scabbers, Hagrid's Odd Collection. Do either of you have any pets you wish you could have but don't?
Matt, I think this is right up your alley.
Well, I think I've talked about this with you personally, Josh, but I am not a pet person. I don't currently have any pets. Growing up, the only pets we had were caged. So that means like I had some fish growing up, never lasted too long because I hate cleaning fish tanks. And then the other one we really had we actually had a couple of them, hamsters, which once again, they lived in the cage. Loved putting them in, that little like exercise ball so they could run around the floor.
Yep.
But other than that, like I didn't even really care for the hamster that much. Like I like watching it once in a while, but I didn't really like picking it up. I didn't like playing with it. It really turned out to be my sister's pet. And she somehow, like, later on in life, I found out that hamsters are apparently only supposed to last like 2 years maybe. and she had this hamster that was living like 6 years.
Wow.
And like when that one died, she bought another one, and that one lived like just as long. So I don't know what she was doing, but
she was loving it and taking care of it.
Yeah. As soon as I got out on my own, I haven't had any pets. Don't really care to. My wife and I, we don't really care to have pets. At least not like the cat or dog. We have no need or want to have any of those pets.
Sure.
She does occasionally tell me she wants fish again, and I'm like, my rule is, what'd you say? Or a hedgehog. Oh, she wants a baby hedgehog.
Okay,
Yeah.
they don't say
But the
babies.
thing
She
is-
knows that, right?
What's that?
They don't stay babies, right?
Exactly that, and
Yeah.
that's what I tell her. She wants it because they're little and cute, and I'm like, well, yeah, it's going to be that way for like what, 6 months, and yeah,
Yeah, but they're still little, even after 6 months.
yeah.
I'm on
I
her
don't
side. Get a hedgehog.
know.
You have to call it Sonic, though. That's the rule.
I probably would.
Knuckles.
So that's actual pets. Matt, what about magical pets?
Magical pets.
Yeah.
Like, I would be slightly more inclined to maybe get something, but I think it'd have to be something that's kept outdoors. Like, I think that's my biggest thing is like, I don't like cleaning up after stuff. And so I'm guessing like if it was something like a hippogriff or something that I could just keep outside, keep it in the forest. I think Hagrid was keeping them in a paddock, like basically keeping them like horses.
Sure.
Like
That's
I
fair.
could probably do something more like that.
Something you could just toss meat out to from the window and call it good.
Yep.
Yeah. For me, I grew up with pets pretty much my entire life. We mostly had cats. We had a dog for a short while. She ran away constantly, and eventually she just didn't come back one time. So always had fish. I always remember having fish as a kid. Once I became an adult and was able to make adult decisions, like which animals am I going to let live in my house other than kids, I adopted a cat one time from an apartment building I was working at. We found a litter of kittens from a stray cat that had them underneath a building. They all frantically ran away except for one of them. There was this little tiny white ball of fur that I was able to catch, and named him Marshmallow and brought it home for the kids. And he lived for a couple years before he got a really bad bladder infection, and we had to put him down because surgery wasn't an option. So that was sad. Also had a pit bull Rottweiler, not Rottweiler, pit bull something mix. He was a mutt of some sort. His name was Rocky, of course. And he was a boxer pit bull mix. Hence the Rocky name.
That would make sense.
Yeah. He was a cool dog. But I've always had fish. I like keeping aquariums. I'll go through this weird thing of like, I'll want a fish tank for like a couple of years, and then all of a sudden I'll just get bored with it, and I'll, get rid of the fish, donate them, do something with them. And then I won't have a fish tank for a while. And then out of the clear blue, I'll get that wild hair back, and it's like, you know what? I want to start up a fish tank again. And I really enjoy the process of setting up a new fish tank, picking out the things for it, doing the whole cleaning process and getting it all looking brand new and figuring out which kind of fish I want. Ultimately, like at some point in my life, I am absolutely going to have a saltwater fish tank. That's like the pinnacle of my pet ownership.
I was gonna say that's a chore.
Yeah, it's 100% a chore, and that's why I want to be able to make sure I'm have the time to commit to it. So as the kids get older, the more time I'm going to start finding to be able to do something like that. So yeah, I'd really like a giant saltwater fish tank with all kinds of crazy cool fish in it. But I also kind of want a dog. I still want a dog. Our landlord won't let us get a dog, which bums me out. But I would absolutely love a dog at this point. But yeah.
And what about Fantastic Beasts?
Oh, anything.
Anything.
All of them.
So, what is the big spider's name in Chamber Secrets? You want one of those in your backyard?
If it's in the backyard,
Acromantula.
Yeah. If I don't have to deal with it, if we could like work out some sort of like friendly coexisting relationship, I think I'd be fine with it.
So basically, you want to be Hagrid.
Yes, if that was an option. Now, just having spiders around, no, absolutely not. But like, if there could be some sort of bond that I have with a spider, I'm game to try it. I guess. Just it's not coming in the house though.
I don't believe you. I feel like you would just scream. So you saw it. You'd be like, nope. I'm in Australia. Where am I? Nope.
Yeah. Again, backyard.
All right.
Yeah.
Good answers. All right, got the next one, guys. From Allie. Matt, have you been to Bug-Eyed Betty's yet? Did you try the fried pickles? They are amazing.
Well, no, I have not been there yet. As Josh just mentioned, we are on vacation, so that took up a lot of our eating out budget. So I'll have to try to get there yet. But even when I do, I'm pretty sure I will not try the fried pickles.
Not a fan?
I'm not really a fan of pickles in the first place. Yeah. So, like, I don't mind. I know in Wisconsin, I don't know if this is a thing out where you guys live too, but here in Wisconsin, like we love frying foods. Like it's especially when we get around to like state fair, like everything is they'll fry anything.
It's more about kale up here than fried foods.
There's fried kale, so this is America, guys. Like we fry everything. Doesn't matter what it is. We fry ice cream for goodness sakes. Yep. I don't know how that works, but it's magic. So This is also from Matt. Have you been from Allie still? Have you been in Chippewa Valley long?
I've now lived up here just shy of 6 years, so not overly long. Moved up here with my wife right after we got married, actually, and kind of been here ever since. Don't plan on staying here forever. We do want to get back down to southeast Wisconsin, where we're both from originally. Like both of our parents are down there yet. We really like that area more. Well, I like that area more. She likes it up here, and we stick here because of her job, really. That's the big kicker. There aren't as many jobs that she likes down there, I guess is the easy way of saying it. So I'm willing to live up here and keep her happy and keep her employed. So
have you been in Wisconsin your whole life, Matt?
With the exception of a few years. So I don't know if this question is out there actually, but I'll go into the history a little bit. I was born in Wisconsin. Only lived there about 2 months before my parents moved down to Nebraska. My dad's was a teacher, I should say, and he got a job down in Nebraska. And we lived there about 5 years, then moved back to Wisconsin following his job once again. And I basically lived here my entire life, then with the exception of 1 year when I went to Valparaiso, Indiana for college, and 1 year in Red Wing, Minnesota for different college, which neither of them actually worked out. So, But for the most part, Wisconsin.
Fair enough. Now, when you said you had only been there 6 years, I was like, well, wait a second. Is he about to say that he's not originally from Wisconsin? Because you have developed the Wisconsin accent in 6 years very, very effectively, I would say.
Yeah, if anything, I'm picking up more of a northern Wisconsin accent living up here.
Northerners. Can't trust them.
If you ever catch me saying anything that you think is stereotypical of a Canadian, that's also northern Wisconsin. So
sure. I didn't know Wisconsin was big enough to have a northern and a southern part.
Oh yeah, definitely. There are big differences between northern and southern Wisconsin.
Fair enough. Here we just call that Washington and Oregon. Right, Colin?
Yes, absolutely. Matt, do you have any other fandoms you are passionate about?
Any other fandoms? I've gone through phases, I guess. Like, I've been through Lord of the Rings. I've been through Star Wars, but I guess none of them really stuck quite as much as Harry Potter has. I mean that. I guess the closest I would come to now is like Legend of Zelda. Like that's something that I'm always going to enjoy. There are games I'm always going to play. But there's nothing I followed quite as closely or quite as long as Harry Potter. So
yeah, there's this guy on Twitter that I follow called Skylander Character List, and he's really into Skylanders and that fandom. So yeah,
okay, yeah. I yeah.
I just thought it was hilarious you left that one out.
Well, I mean, to be honest, I've only been doing Skylanders for like the past 4 years. Whereas Harry Potter has been, 15?
Yeah.
So, little bit of a difference. I guess more modernly, yeah. Skylanders is something I follow quite closely, mostly because, well, that's kind of my job. So
he doesn't want to mix work and play here.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
My bad. So Josh, this is from Allie. Are there any other fandoms you have been resisting that we need to press you to try out?
No, none at all. Actually, okay, let's see here. I mean, there's plenty that I'm not a fan of, but I've given it a decent go. Let's see, like, what are some big popular culture fandoms that,
Lord of the Rings, maybe?
No, I like Lord of the Rings. I mean,
Rings,
I'm definitely not like a super fan, but I like the movies. I appreciate them. There's nothing wrong with them at all. Twilight, does that count?
Sure.
Hunger Games, I don't know if that's big enough yet or not. I don't know, like Star Wars, like most of the geeky stuff I've dove into at some point or another and gotten into, I think, or at least recognize that it wasn't for me. Pro Star Wars, anti Star Trek. But I've given it both a shot, you know, like I'm not just saying like I've never seen Star Trek, but I have no interest to either. Like I've given Star Trek a shot in many capacities, and it's just not for me. It's not the same. Yeah, I can't think of anything big enough or like even relatively on the scale of Harry Potter that I've resisted or turned away from. Not that I could think of, no.
Yeah, Twilight's definitely on the same caliber as Harry Potter. Of all the random Harry Potter stuff that you don't really know much about, what are you most excited to learn about?
That triangle symbol with the circle in it.
The Triforce?
Nope, not the Triforce.
Oh,
I don't think it's the Triforce. If it is, I'm about to have my mind blown. Yeah, I don't know what that is. I have seen it in Fantastic Beasts and Where I Find Them.
Mm-hmm.
I have been given that as a present. I have seen tattoos of that. No idea what it is, what it signifies. I have some guesses, but I don't know.
If you have guesses, I want to know what those are at some point. Whether or not you want to share them here or not, I want to know, because that would be very interesting if you have guesses on that. Because that's something that we as Harry Potter fans didn't know anything about or find out about until it was introduced in the books.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we're going to get this weird overlap, because that I would agree is one of those things that you just would never have been able to avoid as much as you try.
Yeah.
Prior to doing this show, obviously you might not have realized that it was related to Harry Potter, possibly just where it pops. Well, like you said, it popped up in Fantastic Beasts. But it's one of those pieces that we definitely would not have had, and so we wouldn't even be able to try to figure out what it was or what it meant.
Right.
But I'd be interested to know if you can figure anything out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if any of my theories on it are really worked out well enough to talk too much about them, but I have this feeling that it's somehow associated with the dark arts. But that also concerns me because I've seen so many people with tattoos of them, and then I'm just like, why are people getting those? Like, I should probably stay away from those people. They're probably Slytherin. So, I don't know. I don't know quite yet. But that's definitely something that is most intriguing because it's most obvious, and kind of like your shirt that you're wearing, Matt, like the 9 3/4. Like, I've seen that for years, but I never would have associated that with Harry Potter. Or if I was told that was a Harry Potter thing, I wouldn't care, or I wouldn't think too much about it.
You see, and that's why I love this shirt. That's kind of my style of shirt. Something that anyone in the know is obviously going to recognize, but doesn't blatantly say Harry Potter right across it.
Right. I mean, me, I just kind of look like a college dropout here, but it's that symbol's intriguing. That's probably what I want to know most about. There's various like story plots and long-term pieces of the puzzle that I'm curious about, but definitely that symbol, whatever that symbol is what keeps me up at night.
All right. This is for both of you. This is the last question from Allie. What is your guys' origin story?
As us as a duo or individually?
That's the assumption. I'm assuming she wants to know, how did you guys meet? How did you guys get together to do this podcast?
Oh, okay, because we were going to go a completely different route.
I mean, if you want to give your fan fiction of your origin story, that's fine too. Like,
Well, it started about 33 and a half years ago. And 2 people fell in love. Like that could have worked.
Settle down, Josh. Family friendly. Come on.
Hey, I'm okay. Our origin story. Matt, you want to say? You want to tell it? Or do you want me to tell it? What do you want to do?
Well, it actually started with you, so you might as well jump in.
Okay. So I do another podcast for those of you that may not know, with my buddy Jason. It's called Toys for Games Cast, and we talk about video games that are in the Toys to Life genre: Skylanders, Amiibo, Lego Dimensions, formerly Disney Infinity, RIP. We've been doing that for a couple of years, and shortly into us doing the podcast, we were talking about Skylanders, and I can't remember if it happened on air or if it was an off the air thing that Jason and I were talking about, but he had mentioned that he knew this one guy on Twitter that was really knowledgeable about Skylander stuff, and that we should totally get a hold of him for some info and maybe get him on the show to talk to him and kind of give our audience a better perspective on Skylanders. So he said it was this guy named Matt, or SCL Matt, or Skylanders character list. So I looked him up on Twitter. I'm like, I already follow him. I've been following him for like a couple of years now, because before Jason and I started doing the podcast, there wasn't hardly any mainstream coverage about these toys and these games. So getting information about release dates and where to find certain figures and like the rares and the chase variants and all the weird little stuff that us as collectors love, but most of the population doesn't care about, you couldn't find anywhere. But I had stumbled upon Matt and his site, because anytime I needed to look up something of when something coming out, or when should you expect it, or when could you find it in which stores, Matt always had that information. So a couple years before Jason and I were doing this podcast, I was already following Matt and what he was doing. So then when, Jason told me about it, I'm like, yes, absolutely. Let's do this. And we had Matt on the show one time, and we talked Skylanders, and we had a good time. And then Matt kind of just stuck around and didn't leave. I mean, we tried to move on, and he's just like, no, I'm with you guys till the end here. So that's kind of like how it all started with us. But I think Matt and I's like actual friendship really began in Boston.
I think that's safe to say.
Yeah, when we went out to PAX East last March. Would have been March,
Last
right?
April. It was almost a year ago.
Was it in April?
Yeah, PAX East was late last year.
Okay, that explains it. Different weather. We had pretty good weather last year.
Yep.
Yeah, it was PAX East. I flew out there. Jason was going to be showing up too, but he showed up like a day and a half after I did. But Matt, you and your wife were already out there, or you got there before me, right?
Yeah, we were actually Boston was the end of a 2-week road trip out east. Like we flew into Maryland, I think, to visit some friends there, and then over the course of 2 weeks, made our way up through DC and all the way up to Boston eventually.
Yeah.
Just taking our time, checking out the sites.
Right. So, I mean, that first night there, I knew you were there. We happened to stay in the same hotel, which was super coincidental.
Yes, especially since my wife made the reservation and Jason made the reservation.
Yeah.
You and I had nothing to do with the reservations.
Yep.
We just ended up at the same hotel.
Yep, we both just kind of showed up there without having any input on it. So I think the first night we had dinner together. Did we? We did, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
The fish place across the street.
That's right. I mean, from there, I mean, getting to know you in real life, in a more personal aspect, kind of really like solidified the fact that we were going to be friends. And that's kind of when you started hammering home the point of how upset you were at me for not knowing anything about Harry Potter.
It's true.
Yeah, but that didn't really come into fruition until the summer of last year.
Yeah,
when we both went to E3. And you, something brought it up. Maybe we were talking about like going to the Wizarding World together, which I was going to go with you guys to Universal Studios just because it was going to be a fun little trip. I was excited because you guys were excited. I definitely wasn't excited to go see anything Harry Potter related. But like it was that conversation where you were just like, this needs to stop. Like you are a grown man, sir, and you know nothing about Harry Potter. And we need to change that.
Well, the kicker for me was when I would guest on your other podcast,
mm-hmm.
there would be people like Atari Alex who would drop Hogwarts or Harry Potter references in his emails. And Jason and I would be sitting there laughing, and you're just sitting there reading the email, and you had no idea. Like you just read through it. It's like, okay, yeah, someone will get that, someone will understand that, but it just meant nothing to you. And then I came across more as we went along. It's like things that I wanted to share with you, but they were Harry Potter related, and I knew you wouldn't understand them. So it's like if we're gonna keep this going. It's going to be to both of our benefits if you understand Harry Potter.
If we're going to be friends, this needs to That was pretty much the ultimatum he gave me. You tricked me into learning about it via podcasting, which I have a hard time saying no to. That's kind of where the idea came.
Somewhere along the line, I think it was maybe like you had started another podcast or two in between, and I might have asked you is there anything you wouldn't podcast about, or something along the lines that made me think that you will just keep starting podcasts until the day you die. And so awesome. It's like I wonder, okay, how about a podcast about Harry Potter? Would you do that? like when I asked you, I still didn't know how we were going to be able to do it. Like I never thought about how do you run a audio book club over a distance. Like it just hadn't I hadn't put all the pieces together in my head yet.
Right.
But I'm like, if he says yes, like Harry Potter, like we can get it done. We can get it done.
Because you were like, you just need to read the books. I'm like, Matt, I don't have time to read the books. I'm telling you right now, I will never have time to sit down and read the books. There's too much. I'm too far behind on everything. I can't do it. Well, what about the movies? I don't want to shortchange the books by just watching the movies. Like, that's not fair. Okay, then you need to read the books. Matt, I don't have time. Okay, well, what if we podcasted about you reading the books?
It's like you can't find time to read books, but you can find time to podcast. And now, of course, you're reading the books and podcasting. But yeah, it's that key little bit is podcast about it.
Right. Yeah. So I think like the following week after we both got home from our Southern California trip, like you sent me a message and you're like, "So are you serious about this?" I'm like, "Well, okay, sure. Let's be serious about it then." And the rest is history, really.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right.
This question comes from Mary. Matt, how can you let him defend Rita Skeeter like that? It hurts. It hurts. She's so awful, but I don't like getting a different viewpoint from someone who know journalism. But I think it's going to be very funny when he realizes why you just can't see her that way.
Well, once in a while, I will admit I have a hard time standing up against Josh. He can be very firm in his beliefs.
Yes, I know this.
So it's one of those things that like I want to try to throw things in his face, but of course they're future events, and so there's only so much I can do at this point. So
that's ultimately the problem, Matt. There is so much defense of things that you want to be able to lay down, but you know that you can't, and I know that you can't, and that's totally a power play move on my part because I could back you into the corner and you can't fight back because you want to keep the integrity of the show going. So I 100% take advantage of that.
Yeah, I like eventually. I know you'll understand. You'll at least have all the information. Like I try to even once in a while take a step back and say, okay, with the knowledge we have now at this point in the book, can I see it from his perspective? Can I understand that? And I see if I can argue against that even. But yeah.
But let's be real. I mean, she's doing her job. She's a journalist. I'm a former journalist.
That's the biggest problem with Rita is that I know you come from a journalism background,
right?
And so you are gonna put up a big defense for that.
I have to, for now. And then when I'm totally wrong, I'll back out and we'll move on to something else, and I'll slip right by it, and that'll be that.
Matt's just playing the long game. That's all he's doing. And I commend you for that, buddy. Because
there's going to be so many "I told you so's" like by book 7 that it's going to be just
2 hours of that.
After, yeah, I'm setting myself up for failure. I know that, but
you may have been right last week, but just you wait.
The next question comes from Drew. Matt, how's your birthday going so far? Also, you're old.
So for anyone that doesn't know, that's my brother. He wrote in a nice AMA question for
that's even better
for our giveaway that week.
Mm.
So yes, my birthday is going well.
That's nice.
And yeah, I'm old.
All right. So this is from Kale. Besides Harry Potter, what is your favorite book or series?
Matt?
Oh boy. Like that's what I tell people all the time is like I don't really read nowadays except for Harry Potter. Which is weird, being that I've already read Harry Potter many, many times.
Sure.
Man, book or series.
I mean, it could be like multimedia too. Like think about it, like movie series or game series or.
Well, yeah, I watch Harry Potter.
There you go.
I've mentioned that before. I make my own Harry Potter weekends and just run through the entire series.
That's fair.
Yeah, for me, like I don't have a favorite book series. Like I can't remember any series of books that I've actually read. Like I'm a one and done type of guy when it comes to books. Hence probably my reason for never diving into Harry Potter after 7 of them came out. It's like, nope, that's too much. My favorite book though. It depends which day you ask me. I've read a lot of good books over the years. I definitely don't read as much as I'd like to anymore. The younger you are, the more time you have to read books. But also, I'm looking at that from like an old man perspective because, like back in my day, like it was that, or like TV or like the TV and video games like weren't even that as accessible as they are now. So it was like books was a healthy option. You could get a lot from reading books. Like nowadays, there's just so much media all over the place. Like it's hard to like sit down and just read a book nowadays, like especially with the option of like I could download a book on my iPad and like scroll through that, and 3 pages in you're just like, I'm gonna go check the scores on this basketball game, and get lost in an internet web hole. And or you could have books read to you. Like now it's there's so much. Podcasts are like my books now. Like I just absorb podcasts and that kind of stuff. If we're going like favorite like series of things, man, that's also tough. Star Wars is pretty big. I really enjoy Star Wars. I have a hard time like remembering like the lore and the in-depth minutia of Star Wars. Like I can't remember specific names of like random aliens that showed up in like a 3-second clip or something from a movie or whatever. But like I just watched Rogue One today, and that's such a good movie. And yeah, Star Wars is up there, like just cultural impact on my life probably.
Okay, if you want to go back to my childhood, I could probably give you a couple series. I haven't read them in decades, but it just trying to think of series that I got hooked on. Growing up, I loved mystery books. And
Goosebumps.
so, what was that?
Goosebumps.
No, actually, I didn't read many of those. For a while, I got hooked on the Hardy Boys, and I read every single one of the Boxcar Children books.
Oh yeah, okay.
I don't know if they made any more past that, but I remember I read 1 through 52.
Okay.
So, like there are a lot of those.
Sure. Yeah.
I think at one point I even owned all of them, but yeah,
I tried both those. Yeah.
That was what I got hooked on back in the day. So
It's all about the Magic Treehouse, guys. Come on.
I don't know what you're talking about.
That's because you're old.
Yeah.
All right. The next one is Rihanna. What got you both into podcasting? And actually, Sarah asked the same question. There's 2.
Matt.
Well, Josh got me into podcasting. Like I never really considered it before he or Jason asked me to be on their show. Did it once. It was okay. It was a little rocky, but as he mentioned, I just kept coming back, and every time I did, it got a little bit better. And I just that's when I found myself starting to make more video content for my Skylanders YouTube channel, and being on camera more, and being like talking live. Like I shoot my videos in one shot. I just you can tell I ramble a little bit, but basically it's essentially a video podcast, you could call it, I guess. It's just it is pre-recorded, but I guess our podcasts are pre-recorded too. We could edit them more if we wanted to, but we don't.
That requires work, Matt.
Exactly. I mean, I can't say too much because you do all the editing, but that's really where it started. Is with them inviting me on their podcast, me realizing like anyone who knew me in grade school or high school like would never expect me to really like or move in a direction of that would require me to speak a lot. I was always the quiet kid sitting in the back of the classroom.
Getting in trouble.
No, not getting in trouble. I told you that last week. I was good at two shoes.
Yeah, I know.
Straight A student, but yeah, I just didn't talk. That I went to school, did my work, and got out of there. And so telling someone I knew back then that, hey, what do you do now? Oh, I podcast. Like that sounds ludicrous, especially when you tell them, well, yeah, I podcast 3 hours a week. That would just seem crazy, I think, to them. So
sure.
But yeah, it's all thanks to Josh, I think.
Yeah, it's my fault. For me, I've been listening to podcasts for years. And it was about, 4.5 years ago, maybe. Maybe closer. Yeah, 4.5 or so. I was starting to become fairly active on Twitter and whatnot, and had won some contest, a giveaway for a video game or something, but it was like a group contest, so like a bunch of us won. And this one guy that was also a winner had seen my name included in the tweet and kind of read through my bio and was like, hey, you're in the video game. It was like, that's really cool. At the time I was doing this project, which somehow I forget about more often than not. But it was a project that I did by myself where I played and wrote about a new video game every single day for an entire year. So 365 days, I played a new video game each day, and I wrote about it that by the end of the day and posted it. That was quite an accomplishment. That was a big thing.
That's impressive.
Yeah. So I was in the middle of doing that when this guy found me. He was like, hey, that's a really fascinating and crazy thing that you're doing. Like, that's not something normal people do. We have a podcast. Would you want to come on and we could interview you? I'm like, be on a podcast? Like, that's weird, but okay. Like, why would you want to talk to me? I didn't have a microphone. I didn't have like any sort of like computer set up like ready to record a podcast. So I just had like my phone and like a headset and did the most like basic generic type of like Skype call you could do to record a podcast with somebody. And by the end of it, I was like, wow, that was really nice. I liked talking to people about this. This was weird. And then a few people that listened to their show, they also had a podcast. So then they wanted me on their podcast after that to talk to me. I'm like, okay, I could be a guest on your podcast too. Let's do this, you know? So I was a guest on their podcast and things went fine and whatnot. And it was about that time when I had some very serious relationship issues. And I was going to be ending a relationship with my ex at the time, or is my ex, wasn't my ex at the time. And like having to change our family dynamic and not be around my kids full time like I was. And I was going to be moving out, finding an apartment by myself and trying to figure out life in that new way that I wasn't ready for. And this one guy who had listened to, who was fans of both podcasts that I'd already been on, we had mutually kind of followed each other, built this beginning relationship through Twitter of just knowing each other and interacting with each other, just because he had listened to those podcasts. And got a hold of me one day and was like, "Hey, so I kind of want to start a podcast, and you seem to be really good at podcasting. Would you want to podcast with me?" And I'm like, "Well, I've done 2 podcasts. I wouldn't say I'm good at podcasting, but I don't know how to start a podcast or do a podcast. But yeah, we could totally do that." And he knew a guy that was also interested in possibly podcasting with us, and we started a podcast called Platform Junkies at that point. And that's kind of what started my love for podcasting. And I realized that was something I really enjoyed. I enjoyed doing it on a weekly basis. I enjoyed talking to people and interacting with people. I enjoyed the aspect of building a community through podcasting, talking to new people, talking about different things. And Matt, like you were saying, like, people probably in my past would be shocked that I do so much podcasting. I was the quiet kid also. I didn't sit in the back because that's where people got in trouble. I was more like in the middle, just stay under the radar as much as possible type of guy. I had, which I don't know if I've ever talked about on any podcast that I've ever done. So this might be brand new information for everybody out there listening. I had a very severe speech impediment most of my childhood. It wasn't until the 6th or 7th grade when it kind of, something in my brain just kind of switched and I lost it, but I was never able to pronounce R's, TH's, and S's I had a hard time with. So growing up, I was always self-conscious about talking and speaking in public because of my speech impediment. It was really tough for me. So once I finally got over that, like, it didn't suddenly make me want to talk all the time. Like, it was still like, I'm okay not talking and being quiet. I took a public speaking class in college, my first year of college, and that was one of the most frightening things I've ever done in my life. It wasn't required, but it was something that I kind of challenged myself with doing. And what was really difficult about it was the teacher had a video camera, and when you gave your presentations, like, you had to bring in a blank tape so that the teacher could record them, and then you'd have to take them home and watch them and grade yourself and, like, write all these notes about, like, your presentation that you had to do. And seeing yourself, like, talk, and it was, I don't know how I passed that class. Like, it was tough. It was really tough, but I think it was probably for the best, long term. And it probably had something to do with being able to podcast and talk to people, because not everybody can podcast or is capable of podcasting. Doing it not pre-recorded with just, like, your buddies that you're recording with is usually pretty easy. Doing live shows like these, frightening, absolutely horrific. But then you get into, like, upper level podcasting where you're doing panels at shows in front of a live audience that are people sitting there in chairs watching you speak and talk and waiting for witty remarks and jokes. And I don't know how I'm still doing this. I don't know why I love it at this point, but I do, and here we are. So that was way long-winded. I'm sorry.
No, it's good. We got a question from the chat from To The Cat. This question's for you, Josh. Judging by your Instagram account, you're really into cooking. If this isn't already your job, when are you going to open a restaurant so we can all go?
I like this question because I didn't start cooking until last summer. Middle of the summer, I signed up for Blue Apron on a whim. They had a promotional thing where you get, like, your first shipment free. I'm like, you know what? I'll give that a shot. I've never been into cooking. Okay. Reverse that just a little bit. I, in my spare time, make cakes. I am a cake maker. and decorator. It's a passion of mine. I enjoy doing it. I don't know if I would love it enough to ever do it as like a profession or full time, but doing it and making fun, great looking cakes is something that I enjoy doing. For me, I liked the baking aspect because with baking, everything is very precise. Like your measurements have to be on point if you want that cake to taste good. You put a little bit extra or not enough of something, and the whole recipe is ruined, and you just throw it away. So for me, with like the anxiety that I try to deal with on a daily basis, like having a structure like baking is good for me because it's something that I can control and that is already controlled, and there's reason and purpose for it. So that's why I enjoyed baking. And that's also the reason why I never liked to cook, because cooking is a complete opposite of baking. You just throw a bunch of stuff in and cook it, and there's no rhyme or reason. Like if something says 2 tablespoons, that's like, I'm just going to pour a little something in here and see what happens, or I'm going to pour a little more extra, or recipes with cooking are just like basic guidelines. Like, here's the road, but you know what? You can go off-road as much as you like. As long as the outcome still tastes good, it doesn't matter what you do with cooking. That thought always scared me to death. I was frightened of deviating from a rigid structure. And that's why I never liked to cook. Also, cooking takes a long time. In hindsight, it's not really that long. But like for me, for the longest time, I couldn't get over the fact that I was going to be standing in the kitchen for 45 minutes to an hour making something. Like in my head, that I could be doing something else more productive than just making one meal that you're going to eat in like 10 minutes and call it good. So like I couldn't ever calm myself down enough to give myself the time to just spend in the kitchen until I signed up for Blue Apron last. And this is going to sound like the most ridiculous sponsorship plug ever. Totally not sponsored by Blue Apron at this point.
Nope.
But hey, if they want to join on, we can talk after the show. So I signed up for them. I was just like, you know what? I want to try this. I want to do something and give this a shot. And the first week that I had it, I kind of fell in love with it. I was like, this is kind of awesome. I really like making these crazy, insane dishes of food that I never thought I was capable of making. So I had Blue Apron for a few weeks and then ended up canceling it because it gets expensive. Not gonna lie. And when you start realizing that you could buy most of the ingredients from a store for much less, Blue Apron is great if you don't like going to stores, or if you don't have like good markets around you with like the good produce. It's fantastic just to have that stuff delivered to your door. But we have like 1,000 stores around us, like in any direction here. Like going to the store is not a big deal for me. And it's much cheaper and you get to kind of pick what you want. And so I stopped doing the Blue Apron just because also here's a secret about that service. Once you subscribe and then you cancel it, you still have access to their entire recipe catalog for the rest of your life. So they encourage you to join back on whenever you want, but because you've already been a member, you could go through and you could look up any recipe you want that they've ever done or will ever do and pull up the step-by-step instructions just like you would be getting with the service if you're paying for it. So
you see, and that was my first thought, is like you could at least keep the recipes that you've made already and just keep reusing them. So once you get, at a dozen or two of them, you can just, you're set for life. Just keep reusing those. But if they give you access to the entire catalog, that's
because in the box they send you the cards, so you follow the cards and you could keep those because they're physical things. You don't have to send them back; that'd be ridiculous. But they have an app, and once you've already been a member, you could go on to the app. Still, it'll say, "Hey, you ready to join back?" And you're like, not quite." And then you could just go click on recipes and you could sort it into like seasonal recipes. You could sort it into like what the main ingredient of the dish is. all kinds of different ways you could sort it, and it's just like an endless supply of like really good recipes that end up looking good and they taste good, and not always am I cooking from there, but it is enough to be like a baseline of if I want to try something new, I know where to start looking for something. I've kind of fallen in love with cooking accidentally, which is something I never would have thought I would do, much less reading, Harry Potter. Like, I'm reading Harry Potter and cooking and talking in public, and like these are all things that like I never would have ever imagined I would be into, and yet here we are. Am I going to open a restaurant? Probably not, but I will say the thought has definitely crossed my mind once or twice of, am I too old to change careers and just like suddenly become a chef? Like, am I past that point in my life? No,
Not
I don't.
at all.
Never.
No.
Like I said, my dad, when we were moving around a lot, he was a teacher. He was a teacher for like 15 years, and then took a crash course in COBOL and became a computer programmer for the next 16 years.
Mm.
Like that. You can just kind of veer off whenever you want. I mean, he would have been probably around 40 when he did that. So I mean, you got plenty of time.
We'll see. If I ever open one, you guys are all invited.
Yes, free food.
No, you could come pay for your food, but I will bump you to the top of the RSVP list.
Well, that is lame.
Free apps, okay? Apps on apps.
What's the name of the restaurant?
No idea. Can I use Muggle? Is that?
Maybe
I don't know.
Tales from Godric Hollow. I mean, I don't think that's trademark. I don't think Warner Brothers would get you with a copyright strike. I think you'll be fine. Don't worry about it.
I think I'll be good.
I'll figure it out for you, okay? I'll Google stuff. I'm going to Google this real quick. The next question is from Brady. This question is from Matt. What wand did you get on the Pottermore quiz? What core does it have, and how long is it?
It's a good question. Let me, because I don't remember this offhand, but I can definitely log in and check it out.
Also, Brady is calling you Mysterious Matt, so is it okay if I call you that from now on?
Sorry, what was that?
Brady refers to you as Mysterious Matt, so is it okay if I call you that from now on?
Oh, okay. You cut out for a minute there. I
Must have been you, man. I heard it loud and clear.
Okay.
Mysterious Matt, he's cutting out.
That's just zoning off, just drifting off.
All right. So I got a Hazelwood wand with a dragon heartstring core, 12 and a half inches long, reasonably supple flexibility.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
Is that something I'm allowed to do?
No, don't do it. Don't.
We'll wait on that one. We already let you in on a bunch of those. So.
I feel like after you guys finish the books, you should do a bunch of like extra podcasts for all the random Harry Potter like pop culture stuff that you've been avoiding.
Oh yeah.
So
We'll keep going. Don't worry.
Oh, I'm not worried.
I already have a few things in mind, I think, but yeah.
All right.
So doesn't want to get rid of me, is what it is.
I mean, who would?
Yeah, that's true.
All right, we got a question from the chat. Looks like Mama X is X outnumbered. All right. For Josh, because I think I already know Matt's answer. Do you find yourself talking about Harry Potter in your everyday life now?
Yes, which is weird. I'll make a reference to something, or I'll see something and bring it up. I think with Val, I will drop references just to see if she's paying attention sometimes, because I know she tunes me out. But yeah, like I don't know if I'm like actively ever talking about it like at work or anything like that. But I'm more it's less about me talking about Harry Potter in my everyday life and more about me recognizing Harry Potter all around me in my everyday life, which is something that's obviously been there the whole time, but I never paid much attention to until recently with this podcast, especially. So, yeah, that's probably the best way to answer that, I think.
All right. I think that goes along with what I was saying before. Like, there are so many things that you wouldn't necessarily have known were Harry Potter references, even
Sure.
until now.
Like to be fair, I've been a fan of giant squids for as far back as I can remember. Like, that is an honest truth that
which still seems like a strange thing to be a fan of, but
right. But there's a backstory with that whole thing. But now with Harry Potter, like, now my obsession with giant squids is now defined by a giant squid being in Harry Potter and me being the biggest giant squid of Harry Potter fan that there possibly can be out there. So now it's like it's transferred from like one thing that I appreciated before and was a huge fan of, and now it's me associating with Harry Potter, which I'm okay with, but it's still weird to me that now giant squids and Harry Potter are a thing, whereas before, if I talked about giant squids, people would have just thought I was crazy, right? Like, why is this guy obsessed with giant squids? Like, that's the dumbest thing ever. But now it's like, oh, there's that giant squid in Harry Potter that they talk about once per book, and people are like, okay, you're still pretty crazy, but it at least makes sense. So,
got to justify the crazy somehow.
It makes me at ease, I think.
That's good. All right, this question is from Joe. How many different podcasts do you each do?
This is my only full-time. Like we mentioned before, I'm on the Toys for Games cast as a guest fairly frequently. But other than that, well, actually, no, I have guested on a couple other podcasts. Your Joys of Games podcast that you two do.
Mm-hmm.
I was on there once. But yeah, Godric's Hollow is my only full-time.
He's dedicated. I'm separated all over the place. Toys for Games cast do on a weekly basis. Joys of Games I do with Colin. We try to do it weekly as much as we can. But Colin's always sick, so it's tough.
I'm dying. I don't know what to tell you, buddy.
Yeah, but every time it's a different thing that's killing you. So that's the weird part.
It's the planet that's killing me.
Do you live in Australia?
I don't even know anymore.
Possibly. You feel like it. You never come see me anymore. So those are weekly. The Tales from Godric's Hollow, of course. Colin and I and Val, we do Platform Junkies together. We try to do that about once a month now. And I do a solo podcast, Nothing But Noise. Took a break, but it will be restarting it this week. Shorter episodes than any other podcast that I do. And that's it. Like, but I'm the amount of podcast ideas I have always outnumber how many actual podcasts I have going on. There are 3 podcast ideas right now that I am working through the logistics of starting. And I see Matt over there just like shaking his head in disgust because it's just like this guy has no time for this kind of stuff. But I
guess it's a one thing you find time for.
I do.
Just when you don't think you have time, you find time for another podcast.
Yeah. So I have at least 3 solid ideas for different podcasts right now that have nothing to do with anything else that I do. Whether or not those happen anytime soon, we'll see. But yeah, I'm always thinking of the next thing.
All right.
I mean, we're already on book 4 of this Harry Potter thing. Like, we're going to be done in no time flat.
No time being 2 years. Yeah.
All
I played
right.
the long game, Matt.
This is also from Joe. For Josh, since I know he's a foodie, what's your signature dish or your favorite dish to make?
I haven't really settled on a favorite dish. Like I'm at the point where I'm still trying so many different recipes that like it's hard for me to go back to something I've already made, because in my head it's like, I've already made that. People enjoyed that, but I could do something else now. I make a really good coleslaw, which is really weird. Because I never really liked coleslaw that much.
Yeah, coleslaw's gross.
Oh, I love coleslaw. It's the best.
Oh.
Matt, you're probably with me. Like, is it the mayonnaise?
Yep.
Okay. That was always my experience with coleslaw. So I make a coleslaw with, I'm not going to tell you my secret recipe, but it's not the mayonnaise soaked coleslaw that you're used to. And I think there's a chance that you might appreciate it. Now, I know you don't eat many vegetables, Matt. So that might be
true.
A hard thing to overcome with coleslaw. But yeah, I don't know if I have like a signature dish yet. Like, I make a really good fried chicken, which is pretty awesome. Yeah, I don't know if I have that one dish yet. I haven't settled. I haven't found anything where I'm just like, I would make this all the time. Because, like I said, I'm still trying to learn new foods and new techniques and new dishes and play with different flavors. So I'm slowly getting there, I guess.
All right. Last question from Joe. This is for the mysterious Matt. I know you do this in Skylander stuff, and I know you like the Green Bay Packers, but what other things do you like, or what are some things you enjoy following? Do you have any favorite TV shows you're into at the moment?
Well, okay, we'll kind of work backwards. As for TV shows, I can't really say there's anything I'm into at the moment. My watching habits are pretty much what's on Netflix. So I don't even really know what's on TV nowadays, what's actually current, especially the way Netflix handles things. So often, like, they'll give me 5 seasons of a show, and it could still be current, and they could be on season 9, but Netflix only got a contract for the first 5 seasons. So I couldn't even tell you how long it's been on the air, or if it's current, or if it was canceled and that's why I got on Netflix. I don't know. But I would say a good 90% of my TV/movie viewing takes place on Netflix nowadays. So, and like I'm not super picky, I guess. I will basically try anything. And that's the joy of Netflix, is it's already prepaid. If you don't like something, turn it off and choose something else.
But do you have a favorite right now?
Right now, shoot, I'm not. Right now, I'm really watching a lot of documentaries.
Okay.
That is something I do enjoy, which I know a lot of people don't. They find them extremely boring, but I mean, it has to be the right topic, and there are bad documentaries. Like, there is a good way to make a documentary, like, and people I think are getting better at it, and they're finding more interesting topics. So that's what I'm looking for. The ones I enjoy most usually have to do with technology or entrepreneurs. Kind of how they got to where they are, or just new things that are coming out. Although I did just watch one on, it was about food, actually, and how, what was it called? Like, I should look that up again, because that was a good one.
That food one.
yeah. But it like
probably the only food documentary out there.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I guess documentaries are my thing right now. And then I always have a really long running series that I rewatch when I just need something short to watch. So like I'll rewatch like Friends or The Office or something like that too. Stuff I greatly enjoyed the first time through, and kind of just is easy to go back to and listen to in the background or something like that.
Nice.
Comfort food.
As for other things I'm into, board games. I love me some board games. And when I say board games, I do not mean things like Monopoly, Clue, Mousetrap, not Ameritrash like that.
Hey! Don't game shame. Don't game shame. Settle down now.
But yeah, more Euro games, the European style of gaming. Some people might know things like Ticket to Ride, Carcassonne, Settlers of Catan. Those are 3 we consider to be like gateway games. That'll get you into the heavier stuff. And I could go off listing board games I enjoy playing, but I'm pretty sure I would be very surprised if anybody out there knew the games I like to play. If you do, great. Things like Belfort, Agricola, Le Havre.
Are you even saying actual words right
Are
now?
those spells? What's going on?
My point exactly. So, yeah, if you are familiar with the site Board Game Geek and you like run down their, top 100, 200 games, like that's the style of game I tend to play.
Right. Here's a question from the chat. This is from Taryn. Josh, are your kids Harry Potter fans? I know Val is, but I don't remember if you said whether or not they are too.
So my kids definitely have seen the movies. I know that they were watching the movies when they came out. I never partaked in the movie watching with them. I was like, okay, you guys are going to watch Harry Potter? I'll go to the other room and play some games or do something else. That's such a horrible thing, right? Like I could have been so far ahead of this whole curve if I'd just been a better dad. So I mean, they've seen the movies. I wouldn't say that they're like super fans or anything like that. But they probably know more than I do. And then Val's kids, they're probably a little bit more fans of Harry Potter, but like her oldest one, like he's read the books, most of them, I think. The other ones, they've all seen the movies. They know, again, more than I do, but they're not like diehard like Harry Potter fans as well. They're kind of scattered in all their interests. So, yeah.
Nice. All right, I got some quick questions from Mel B. Josh, who is your favorite character so far and why?
Hagrid. His love for animals. Wait, hold on. Stop. Are we talking just the Harry Potter series, or can we include Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them?
It says, who is your favorite character so far and why? I'm just reading the questions here, man.
Sure.
I'd say anything. Anything so far that you know of.
Newt Scamander is my favorite character.
Cool.
By far. I relate to him the most. He's an introvert. He has a very real passion for animals and trying to make the world a better place through education of them. He is helpful. He's there. He's loyal. He's a Hufflepuff. I mean, I'm pretty much describing Hufflepuffs at this point. Yeah, I the first time I saw that film, I'm like, I relate to Newt more than any other character by so much. It's not even crazy. So, yeah.
Josh, which characters do you want to learn more about?
Boy. I mean, definitely Lita Lestrange.
All
You
right.
got the name right.
Okay. No, I'm curious where that's going. Because Matt made me curious with that one. Let's see. Hagrid, there's still a lot to Hagrid that I want to know about. Eventually, I need to know more about Snape. There is going to be something that is going to make me understand why Snape is Matt's favorite character. And every week, I'm just waiting for that moment, that aha moment of, okay, Matt, I understand. Because right now, I'm quite critical of Matt's choice as Snape being his favorite character. A little frightened as well. So I think I'm craving that knowledge of Snape's character that will put me on an understanding with Matt that I don't have at this point.
All right, Matt, how shocked were you to find someone who had never read or seen Harry Potter?
It's the more I looked around, like the more people I found that hadn't, or that were kind of in the same position Josh was. I think the biggest difference for me was I was getting to a point where I was talking to him more and more, and there was Harry Potter talk going on around him, or references I wanted to make about Harry Potter that were related, like I could relate to something else we were talking about. And so I wanted to use that as a point of reference, but I knew I couldn't because he wasn't going to understand it. And so I think that was the biggest difference between Josh not knowing and other friends I have that haven't read it.
All right. Matt, what's your favorite good, bad, random prediction that Josh has made?
Well, I
none of it's random. Just let's start out with that.
I don't think I can talk too much about that right now, actually, without giving too much away.
Oh,
all right,
you're killing me. Are you serious?
We'll hold out on that for another AMA.
What about the flask, Matt? That was pretty good.
That was pretty good. I mean, it was one of those like minor details that I probably wouldn't even thought of, but then you went into like the week before in just enough detail. It's like he's really paranoid. He's probably that kind of guy who always brings his own drink. I'm like, yeah, he is. What do you know? Yeah.
You're allowed to use one spell from the Harry Potter world for the rest of your life. Which do you choose? Josh, go first.
Boy.
Where's your little spell book?
Oh, it's not with me right now. I don't know where it is. That's tough. My first inclination is to say the Patronus spell, but I don't know what I'd do with a dolphin flying around.
Who doesn't want a dolphin flying around?
Lumos is pretty good. I feel like I could get a lot accomplished with that one. Man, I don't know. Matt, what's Matt's?
Right now, I'm debating between two. They're both very practical, I think. Well, one's more practical and one is lazy. My first thought went to Accio because he can just make like anything come to you. It's the lazy man's best friend. Otherwise, I was thinking Reparo because being able to fix things would be awful nice.
Right. What's the one to open locks or doors?
Alohomora?
Yeah, that one's pretty good.
That could be good too.
Yeah, it's dangerous though. I'd get in trouble using that.
All right, guys. Matt, Fred or George?
Fred.
Wrong answer. Josh, Fred or George?
George.
All right. All right, guys. Last and most important question of the evening. Favorite pizza flavor. Now, before you answer, Josh, I know it's pineapple, so I got that. Matt, go.
Oh, no. That, for the record, pineapple does not belong on pizza.
Actually, it does.
No. Chef Gordon Ramsay said so himself. And, are you going to argue with Chef Ramsay?
I would.
So.
Yeah,
No.
I would. Yep.
Oh. Anyway, for a large portion of my life, probably the first 15, 20 years of my life, I probably would have told you my favorite pizza topping is cheese. Um, I literally was a cheese pizza guy. Like I didn't like toppings. Now if I have to pick one, I go with pepperoni.
Yep.
But yeah, my general rule for pizza is you can put whatever meat on it you want, but no vegetables. Vegetables do not belong in pizza, or fruit for that matter. It's even worse.
Well, for the first 27, 28 years of my life, I would have said anything but cheese, because I ordered my pizza with no cheese.
Which is not even pizza.
Yeah, that's like marinara bread.
Deliciousness.
Yeah, that's breadsticks in pie form.
Nothing wrong with that, fellas. So yeah,
there is.
I did not order. I ordered every pizza I had with no cheese. Up until I was about.
So what else would you put on it then?
Oh, anything except pineapple. But
I mean that can't even like cook right.
Oh yeah, it cooks great.
I don't understand. This
Yeah.
This is too deep, guys. Like I am not okay with either of these answers.
But that was then. That was in the past, Colin. So let's move past that horrible part of my life. One topping. I mean, obviously, it has to be pepperoni, right? Like a good pepperoni pizza, like it's hard to beat. I mean, There are plenty of other good toppings that could go on a pizza. Matt will disagree with many of them. The things I'm definitely not a fan of on pizza.
My other, if you want to go like favorite pizza, it's not just one topping. You go with something like buffalo chicken.
That's a good one. Yeah,
buffalo. Like there are bad buffalo chicken pizzas out there. I've had them. But I know Toppers is a local, regional pizza chain around here, and they make the best buffalo chicken pizza.
Not bad. The things I definitely do not like on pizzas will be pineapple, mushrooms, and olives. Like those are definitely like no-go on my pizza. Like you want to put some onions or green peppers and that kind of stuff. Like I'm okay with that kind of stuff. I'll even throw on like some sun-dried tomatoes if I'm feeling really froggy. But keep those three ingredients off my pizza and we're okay. But like a pepperoni, bacon, and garlic pizza is probably like that would be like my go-to.
That's good. I do that a lot of times if there's like a pizza deal for like 2 topping pizzas. Like I'm limited to 2 toppings. It's pepperoni and bacon. So yeah. I'll throw some garlic on there, sure.
Yeah. Some places don't add garlic as a topping. That's just like additional if you want it, which is fantastic. I am all for not adding garlic as a special topping because really that's just like a seasoning. Let's be real here.
Yep. It certainly is. All right. I'm sorry if I'm butchering anyone's names. I forgot to preface that at the beginning. I think it's Noam. Which character do you associate with yourself most or feel most similar or like to? So which one do you feel like you're most similar to? Josh, you go first.
Well, I already said Newt. I mean, yeah, that's my spirit animal through and through. If we're sticking to just like the main series, probably like a cross between like Hermione and Hagrid, like mix those two together. I probably relate to them two the most, I think, especially as Hermione's getting older and more, she's being more Hermione. The more I start to find myself associating with her more, but I'm interested to see what Matt's answer is actually.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it shouldn't surprise you too much because you kind of said you were like me back in the day. Hermione is that book smart character who grew up keeping to herself, but developed a small yet very close-knit group of friends. Growing up through elementary school, like I basically hung out with 2 people. My friends Scott and Steve. Like they were the guys I hung out with the entire time, grew up with. I went over to their house, they came over to mine, but that was about it. So it like because of how how I picture her upbringing, how I picture her, I guess before Hogwarts and then moving into the first couple of years, she's probably one I relate to the most. But I mean, as you go on, there's probably some others I could like. I guess there's other characters I want to be like, but
Lockhart.
What was that?
Lockhart.
Yeah, I mean, obviously.
I'm not pretty enough for that. But yeah, when it comes down to it, like I'm just not as much like them as I'd like to be.
So Matt, which two characters would you want in your life?
Dumbledore.
I knew you were going to say that.
It's a good choice.
Yep.
And the second one?
And see, the thing I'm running into is like, I don't know if my second character, no matter who I choose, like I have a couple of options right now, but I don't think like if it were me and Dumbledore and this third person, I don't think they'd really get along. So like I'm struggling. It's like just two people I would get along with, or like,
I mean, Matt, you can have two separate friends that aren't in the same clique. So you're like, oh, Dumbledore I meet with on Monday through Wednesday, and then Thursday through Friday, I meet with, I don't know, Dobby.
Hermione. No, not Dobby. Not Dobby at all. I punt Dobby out the window.
Dude, you are Slytherin.
See? Sorry, Matt.
Josh, what two characters do you want in your life?
Man, so many options. Like having a Fred and George in your life would be so fun. Like in this book, like thinking about Fred and George hanging out with like Lee Jordan, I'm just thinking that would be the coolest thing ever to be Lee Jordan right now and just hang out with Fred and George. I feel like that would be fun for a couple years, but eventually you would just get so emotionally drained by them that you would just like have to cut ties eventually. I would like a Ron and Hermione in my life, like have like that trio. Even though like I kind of relate to Hermione, like having a true Hermione, and then having a Ron, like a counterbalance to everything. Mainly because like I wouldn't want a Harry Potter in my life because he brings nothing but trouble. So I think if you eliminate Harry Potter from the situation, like you could have some really good times with Ron and Hermione that don't involve almost dying on a yearly basis. So, that would just be like a fun core group of like friends to be with.
I'm surprised you didn't pick any Fantastic Beasts. Like for me, I'd want a Niffler and Buckbeak. Like I think that'd be awesome.
Yeah, I feel like calling them friends is a stretch too far.
Hey, you just said you related to Newt, so
I do, but I don't think Newt calls them friends.
I'm pretty sure he does on his off time.
Well, I have Newt and Jacob. Does that?
As far as the beasts go, like I would have a hard time with like a Niffler. I mean, like we only really see one, but it's just a Niffler. Where as opposed to like Buckbeak, he named. And the other one I can think of is Norbert. He named as well. Like those are two very specific beasts that we're talking about. That at least if you're talking to Hagrid, I think he would call them friends.
What about Dougal or Frank?
And Newt would call them. Newt would definitely call Frank a friend. Yeah.
I can hang out with the Demi guys.
I just want to go down in that suitcase, man. I just want to live there.
Have a picket in your pocket.
Oh, heck yeah. Cool.
In case, those random occasions you get thrown in handcuffs.
Yeah, it's, things happen. So what are you guys planning on doing after Josh is finished with all the books?
Well, we kind of touched on that a little bit, but we haven't planned anything specifically yet. Like I said, I have a couple things in mind. we will probably run through like we'll probably cover the Cursed Child, because that, I mean, seems to be the next major piece of Harry Potter that fits into the Harry Potter world, that has a book that we could go through. So that seems like a kind of logical thing to do. But then, like I said, we will continue with the Fantastic Beasts story wherever that goes. Obviously, those movies are very much spaced out. I don't know, as of now, I don't think they're planning any books really, other than like the screenplays that they put out alongside the movie. So if they would put anything out regarding those, we could do that as well. Otherwise, like Colin kind of said, like the other Harry Potter related things, all the other media, all the other lore, like Josh wants to talk about like all the different Fantastic Beasts and get in more in depth with them. That's something we could do once he makes it through the series. But there are just so many resources out there. Like we could just dive into Pottermore and pick a topic each week, because there is so much more on Pottermore that JK has written and told us about the Wizarding world, and we could, like I said, easily just pick a topic a week and go at it.
Yeah. What Matt is really trying to say is that once we're done, we are going to hold a worldwide search for another person out there who will walk into the Harry Potter franchise as blind as I did, and we will kidnap them and we will make them sign a 3-year contract to where we go through the series all over again from somebody else's perspective, while Matt and I sit back and laugh at them and, make fun of how ridiculous it is that they had never watched or read Harry Potter before. So this cycle is going to keep on going. And, every time we get through a new person, like we're just going to add them to the growing list of like co-hosts that will just,
we'll have a 12-man podcast.
Yeah. It's going to be, this is a fantastic idea. Be on the lookout for that. It's a non-paying gig, but I'm sure we could convince somebody to do it.
As your attorney, can we not use the word kidnapping? Can we use borrowing, please?
No,
we don't have this recorded on the podcast. They're kidnapping someone, because then they can use it against us in court. You understand?
But it'll be with consent, though. That's the thing.
That's not how kidnapping works.
Okay, the initial kidnapping will not be with consent, but then we'll talk them into it, and it'll be fine.
No, it won't be fine.
Just look for ads on Craigslist in the near future.
Right.
Update Patreon goal. Enough to bail Josh.
All right, the next question comes from Taryn. This one's for Josh. When all the reading, movie watching is done, what do you think? Do you think you'll be a full-blown Potterhead like the rest of us? And will you stay connected to our not-so-little Harry Potter family?
I mean, there's a good chance I'm going to hate everything by the end of this. Just, you guys had years and years to space it out over your life. And, like, you could read it and then move on with your life for, like, the next year. I don't even know how frequently the books came out. But, like, you have, like, these giant chunks of time to where you didn't have to read Harry Potter and you didn't have to watch movies. I'm being force-fed this stuff on a weekly basis consistently for years on end. By the end of this, I'm going to be so sick and tired of Harry Potter. No, I'm going to love it. I'm absolutely going to love it. I'm definitely going to be. I can't wait to dive in more. That's the thing. Like, it kills me at this point to be restricted on things. So once I break free of this leash that Matt is holding me on, who knows what's going to happen? I'm going to be cosplaying at events. It's going to be a thing, but
Yeah, my dad just sent me an article today about, relatively small town in Illinois that is transforming their downtown area into the Wizarding world. And they're like, if you can't make it to California or Florida, come visit us. I think it's like last weekend in July or something like that. I'm like,
That's pretty much the tagline for all of Illinois. Like, hey, can't make it to California or Florida for your vacation? Come to Illinois. Sorry, anybody that's in Illinois. It's true, though.
Another question for you, Josh. When Val is reading each week, are you lying down on the floor in front of her with your chin resting on your hands until you have to fiercely type your notes? Because that's how I picture it.
Usually I'm curled up on a couch. I have a blanket. I have my laptop in front of me. I have like giant pillows surrounding me. I kind of like box myself in because like the more I'm able to like be free and wild, the more excited I'll be. So no, I'm not laying on the floor. That's really hard to type. I'm not a lay on the floor type of guy. Yeah, that would be tough. I'm more of a snuggle up on the couch kind of guy.
All right, Matt. What would you have done if Josh hated the books? Not possible, I know. Would your friendship have survived? And what part of this are you most looking forward to Josh experiencing? The fandom at large? All the crazy and not so crazy theories that are floating around out there? Or being fully able to explore Pottermore, the Harry Potter lexicon, wiki, something else entirely?
Well, I will say the theories that Josh is coming up with, I think, are far more entertaining than a lot of the other theories that are out there right now. And it's honestly something I was not really expecting going into it. Like, I didn't think that was going to, like, I honestly thought we were going to read the chapters, talk about chapters. I didn't realize how fast he was going to follow into it and start basically, like we said, doing what we were doing back in the day, coming up with the theories and trying to make all the pieces fit together. What would I do if he didn't like it? If we got this podcast off the ground at all and we like got through the first book and he decided he didn't want to do it, which, like you said, long shot that he wouldn't be hooked, because once you get people reading Harry Potter, you can usually keep them, at least get them through the series. But I would try my best, knowing that the podcast was a possibility, and by that point I would have known it was something I very much enjoyed doing. I'd have to find someone else to kind of, even if it wasn't the exact same premise.
Wow. I was fired from my own podcast.
Holy cow.
Even if it wasn't the exact same premise, I think I would have needed to find someone at that point that I could talk Harry Potter with on a weekly basis.
All right,
Josh, when you need them.
You're expendable, so don't worry about it.
There was a contingency plan, and Matt never really told me what the contingency plan was, but like he always said, let's get through the first book. If you could give me the first book, then we'll discuss it afterwards. And like I knew Matt like may be playing like very coy right now, but he was worried that I was going to get through the first book and then just bail on him. Like the fact that he was already thinking about just dropping me if it came to that, like, shows how far he had thought about this. Also, what he's not telling people or reminding people is in the span of 8 days, he made me record 6 episodes of this thing as a way to trick me. Was it 5 or 6? 5 or 6, right? And he was like, if I can get this guy to record
6 episodes in the first like week, I think.
Yeah.
So he's a Slytherin, is what you're saying.
Yeah. So, like, he didn't even give me the chance to bail after like 2 episodes. Like, if I would have been like, nah, this isn't working for me, Matt. Like, he had like several more episodes in the can ready to go. So he tricked me from day one.
Brilliant.
Yeah, it worked.
Also, what's your favorite part of this whole thing? I guess I'm referencing the podcast itself, but I also mean your favorite part of being a Potter fan in general.
I think one of the things I love is that you don't really meet bad Potter fans. Like, if someone is a fan of Harry Potter, you just have the instant connection. Like, there can be. So you know, I'm a fan of the Green Bay Packers. So I guess you could say I'm a fan of football. but I would argue that there are bad fans of football as well, people that I wouldn't want to associate myself with, and not just because they root for another team or anything like that, but just bad fans. But I don't think you run into that with the Harry Potter fandom so much. So I think that the fact that it's just something, it's a very positive fandom. I think that's probably the thing I like most about it.
Fans of Death Eaters, I would worry about, Matt.
Yeah. Bye.
What about you, Josh? What's your favorite thing?
About this podcast or the fandom?
Both.
I mean, for me, like, being welcomed into this fandom, I think has been the best part. That was definitely a hesitation of mine early on of, like, will people accept the fact that I am slowly working myself into something that they have loved for a life, if not more? You know, like, that's a passion that I can't compete with right off the bat. And with most things, like, people are very protective of their fandoms. Like, indie bands, you know, like, if they like a certain music, a band or whatever, and they're kind of underground, and then, like, they start getting mainstream, like, those people that like them from the beginning are just like, oh, man, like, I've been a fan for way long. Like, you're just coming on now because you heard a song on their radio, and, like, you're not a true fan. And, like, there's a lot of hesitation with the fandom of that kind of stuff. Same with sports teams. Like, Matt, you're a Green Bay Packer fan. Like, you've grown up a Green Bay Packer fan because of growing up in Wisconsin. So, like, if somebody were to move to Wisconsin all of a sudden and be like, hey, I'm a Green Bay Packer fan, you're just like, well, actually, you moved here from Cleveland, and you used to be a Browns fan, so I don't know if you could quite say that you're a Packer fan just because you moved here. Like, you're going to need to prove yourself for a long time before you can get to that point. So I was hesitant about that, and that has been completely opposite experience for me with Harry Potter. Like, everybody has been very warm and welcoming. I know early on, Matt and I were both very concerned of people wanting and actively trying to spoil things for me, knowing that I was sensitive to that kind of stuff, and we haven't got that at all. There's still time, knock on wood, but I mean, we haven't got any of that other side of the coin type of fandom, which has been really nice. So
yeah, that's a big shout out to all fans that we do have, because you've been great so far. I mean, this show would not be where it's at right now. We would not be doing this AMA episode if it weren't for you.
It's true.
So, yeah, just the fact that you are willing to hold back and keep the secrets. I mean, I think that's part of the reason I wanted to kind of give you guys outlets. Why we do have the Patreon option to give you guys places to talk to each other or to me about Harry Potter or other stuff, but that Josh isn't necessarily allowed to see yet.
Talk about me is basically what you're saying.
No, we talk about Harry Potter and how much you can guess right. It's ridiculous. But
speaking of theories, Matt, wait. I'm just going to throw this out here for the people listening. I am working on something that involves Winky.
Okay.
That will be earth-shattering.
I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah. I want to see what these next two chapters that we're reading involve. But I'm thinking if I don't get anything to turn me away from this theory, we'll have a new Muggle theory up this week involving the wonderful Winky.
I like it.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen, this is the last question.
All right.
This one comes from Harry. It says it's Harry, in parentheses, not Potter. a likely story.
That's exactly what Harry Potter would say.
That's what I'm saying. My question is, if you could have any character's wand, whose would you choose, and why? And he also noted here that Josh, we already know he would pick the Death Eater wand.
Well, I didn't pick the Death Eater wand. The Death Eater wand picked me. So that's not fair to say.
Excuses.
Hagrid's wand.
In the pink umbrella?
Absolutely. I'm still blown away that they don't sell that at the Wizarding World.
Yeah, I missed opportunity.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
How about you, Matt?
I think it'd have to be the first wand I ever bought. Josh, you may actually recognize this one now.
Lupin's?
Nope. This would be Sirius Black.
Oh, yeah. Duh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
This is definitely my favorite wand. It, like I said, is the first one I ever bought. I just love the look of it.
It's very nice. I wish I knew what all those engravings meant.
It's magic, Josh. It's magic.
Yeah, it's true. Is that it, Colin?
That is it, guys.
Wow.
Some awesome questions.
Those were fun.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. Colin, thank you so much for doing this.
Oh, yeah. My pleasure. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah. I don't know if Matt and I asking each other questions would have been the same. So you were definitely a welcome voice on the show and added just the right seasoning to make this worth listening to. So thank you, Colin.
Yeah.
Matt, thank you
Yes.
for bringing this up and asking me. Like, you were hesitant when you asked me if I wanted to do this.
I didn't like. I know you've done this type of show before, but I didn't know if you're ready or willing to do it for this particular group. If you wanted to do it again, like you said, you do sometimes. It can be a little nerve wracking for you to do live things like this. So,
Sure.
yeah, I'm glad you agreed to it. I think it went very well, and at least the few folks we have in our chat here seem to be enjoying it. So,
Yeah. Well, I mean, to be real, I rarely pass up an opportunity to talk about myself. So, Colin knows that all too well. No, this has been a lot of fun. Hope you guys all enjoyed this. Definitely a big shout out to the folks in the chat that was watching this live. Obviously, we wish that everybody on Patreon would have been able to join us tonight, but we know schedules are difficult, time zones are difficult. You know, some people are like days ahead of us as far as like how the world is spinning, and that's, you know, we understand. We try to accommodate everybody, but it's impossible. So that's why we decided to put this up in audio form under a Butterbeer Banter episode so that everybody can enjoy Colin's sultry voice and our ridiculous answers for 2 hours. But thank you for everybody that was watching live, and thank you to everybody on Patreon who really made this happen. Without you guys asking for it and kind of demanding it, you know, it definitely wouldn't have happened. So thank you to everybody over there for allowing us to do this for you, and we hope that you know us a little bit better beyond our Harry Potter fandom, and you could relate to us maybe on a more personal level. Matt and I don't shy away from interacting with you guys as much as we can. So now maybe those doors are open a little bit more. So this is a good step towards building the strongest community we possibly can, I think. Colin, you want to tell the people where they could find you on Twitter at?
Yeah, they can find me on Twitter at PDX_geek. You can also listen to my beautiful voice on the Joys of Games podcast.
As you should, if you like games. If not, just listen for Colin. You can find me on Twitter at The Noise with a Y. Please be sure to follow the show on Twitter at Tales from GH. And if you'd like to support us, like so many of you fine folks are already doing, and allow us to do weekly giveaways and all this other cool stuff, you could do so over at Patreon, patreon.com/Tales from Godric's Hollow. Matt, where can people find you at?
well, you can always find me personally on Twitter at As a Matter of Matt. Otherwise, as so many of you do every week, send me an email over at talesfromgodricshollow@gmail.com.
Alrighty. Well, thank you, gentlemen. Thank you to everybody listening, watching live. Thank you to everybody that listens later on, whenever you so choose. We'll have a new episode up, in another 24, 26, 28 hours, something like that.
Something like that.
I don't know math right now, but it's coming soon. For everybody else out there, it's been fun. It's been a pleasure. Until next time, Muggle out.
Mischief managed.